Welcome back everyone to another ESO build video. Today's going to be the update to the Off Balance build for the Flames of Ambition DLC. Now we are going old school. If you have followed this build for the last 4 years, you know where it started and you know where it ended up. It's still very, very solid, but we're going back to our traditional melee-based weapons. Yes, you can still use the lightning staff. I'm going to go over that in the gear, obviously, but this build is designed to not hit 100k DPS, but to have good single target, but mostly to focus on as much area of effect and off-balance procs as possible to benefit both you and your group. No exploit is not there anymore, but the heavy attack bonuses, and DKs love those backflips. So if you want to see some more of this, stay tuned, it's all coming up. Now, first of all, we're going to go into the stats, make sure our resistance buff is on, and pop a potion. We are sitting on 36.8k max Magicka, 24.3k max health, and 15.2k max stamina, with 4.4k weapon damage and 65% crit. Our resistances are 25.8 and 18. That obviously can fluctuate depending on whether you're standing your rune or not, or whether you actually take it or not. But it's still a really nice flat bonus nonetheless. We're also sitting on quite high recovery, 1.1 almost for Magicka recovery. Now, all of these stats will actually go up. Our weapon damage will go up, our crit will go up, our health will go up, our mag will go up, all that good stuff if you've got buffs and bonuses applied. Now, just for argument's sake, we've got some very particular buffs on the dummy. We're now sitting on 40k Magicka and 27 almost k health with 1.3k recovery. 71% crit. Absolutely mental. Obviously, when you're inside your groups, this is the kind of stuff you can expect. And it can go a little higher as well because we do have other bonuses elsewhere that will actually enhance all of that. But 64 points into max Magicka, a tanky amount of health that we've got there. We don't need any points into there. And we've got flat food. Yes, depending on the build choice you obviously delve into, there are gear options and all that good stuff. You can basically never, ever run out of Magicka with flat food. We're using a Thief Munderstone on purpose. I wouldn't recommend changing that unless you're solo. If you're in VMA, swap it to the Lover. However, food-wise, we are using this. Flat health, flat magic. If you want to use a recovery food, you're going to have less Magicka, which means your damage is going to be lower. Now, if you're using other options in the gear, which we're going to get to later, you might want to use some of that, or you might need to heavy attack a bit more occasionally on your back bar or your front if you choose double lightning. It's entirely up to you. But at the same time, you will have much less health. For us, based on the basic setup, we will never, ever, ever run out of Magicka if you keep up your rotation properly, and therefore, the flat food is fine. Even on the dummy, you don't need cheese food. Now, I'm going to go into the skills. These are all going to be explained, obviously, in detail. So if you want to skip this part, that's fine, but you will miss out on very important information because this is where I tend to squeeze all that stuff in. So first of all is Purifying Light. Dawn's Wrath skill line. Third ability you unlock starts off as Backlash, morphed to Purifying Light. This will put a beam on top of the target. It will last for 6 seconds, and it will count how much damage you've done to the target. 20% of that will be what it will explode in, basically, at the end. It will stack it up in a little pot and then go boom at the end. Now, once it's popped, it will only go up to a certain maximum, of course, based on your stats. You can see that it's actually got a number of where it will go to maximum. That can be enhanced with buffs and bonuses, of course, but that number there in the tooltip is accurate. However, you can crit it, so it will go higher. If it's finished, you'll put a heal on the ground, and everyone will get heals for every 2 seconds for 6 seconds. Very helpful. Keep it up all the time. But if you want to change this out, you can do. Now, one major swap out for this is Mage's Guild Degeneration. Second ability you unlock starts off as Entropy, morphed to Degeneration. This will do damage over time to single target. Now, this will also give you Major Sorcery, meaning how our bars are set up, you will not actually need to take Magicka spell pots with you. You can actually use tripods instead. The recovery is the same, the resource gain is the same, but you don't need Major Sorcery or Prophecy because we already have it. That will be more explained later, but this is a swap out if you choose. Bear in mind, of course, you won't get the heal for your group, and you won't get the passives that this skill carries. The cost of it is not that different, so it's absolutely fine. So if you want to swap that for that, no problem whatsoever. It's not the end of the world. I personally, for most situations, would take this, but it's entirely up to you. The damage output was exactly the same, and the same goes for bubbles as well. If you wanted to put Mystic Orb on, you can. You don't need the synergy because we've already got it. You don't need the extra damage because there's no extra damage. It's exactly the same. Overall, in testing, it was the same on single target, but the cost is up. Again, it doesn't carry the passives. But if you want this for big pulls, then it will hit multiple targets. It's entirely up to you. Keeping it simple, though, Purifying Light or Degeneration. Next up is Barbed Trap. This is in a Fighters Guild skill line. This is the last ability you unlock. Starts off as Trap Beast, morph it to Barbed Trap. This is very important. Put it on the ground. It will do physical damage to single target, but over those 18 seconds while this is doing damage, and even when it falls off, if the enemy dies, whatever, you will be given 18 seconds of minor force, increasing all crit damage that you do. Yes, this immobilizes. No, bosses can't be immobilized. Yes, the skill still fires. Next is our Jesus Beam. Now, this is very important to understand. There are two different morphs for this. So, last ability in a Dawn's Wrath skill line starts off as Radiant Destruction. Morph it to this, Radiant Oppression, or Radiant Glory. Flat out, the damage is exactly the same. They are the same skill. They do the same thing. They damage from the same range. Everything's identical. But the difference is the bonus at the end. If you can keep on top of your resources, depending on which version you're using of the overall setup, then if you've got a full or almost full or even 75% full Magicka bar, the more you've got in there at the moment, the stronger this will be. If you struggle with your resources and you're low very, very often, especially during execute, this isn't going to get the bonus for it. So the more you've got in your bar currently, the better. If it's really, really low, useless. If that's the case, and if you find that you're always running out of juice close to execute, swap to the other morph instead. Because the other morph will end up doing the same amount of damage, but it will heal you for 20% of the damage done every single tick. That means that if you're starting to delve into the 100k Jesus Beam areas of all buffs and bonuses, you're getting healed at 20k a second. Actually a bit quicker than that, because the ticks are faster. Now, the time to use this is under 50% health, but that's not strictly true. Our spammable is very, very strong in single target and area of effect by design, and you want to utilize that as much as you can until it starts falling off and then this starts peaking. You want to use this on trash ads, big ones, at about 40 to 35% or lower, and bosses you want to use at about 30 to 25% or lower. Anything higher than that is too early, and you're literally just cutting off your nose to spite your face because your spammable would be stronger. So again, the choice is yours. Extra power if you have loads of Magicka in your bar all the time, if you want it, or the safety one, which is exactly the same whether your bar is full or empty, and it heals you every single tick. I personally would recommend that everybody uses the Glory morph of this, Radiant Glory, because the heal during execute is so good for your survival, but the choice is yours. Spammable. Adric Spear skill line, Puncturing Sweeps. Starts off as Puncturing Strikes, morph it to Puncturing Sweeps. That's very hard to say 10 times. Now, this is very simple. It channels for 1 second, goes jab, 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 jab in front of you. Lots of jabby spears, great. Main target gets hit for the most amount of damage. All surrounding targets get hit as well, but for less. All of the damage you do is magic damage, and you will slow them down. Not only that, all of the damage you do per stab will actually give you back 41% of the damage done as a heal. That also does scale with healing done and healing received. This is area of effect, so yes, the lightning staff does boost it, but we'll get to that when we get to the gear and the passives because we've got some options for that, and I'm going to explain how the choices affect this as well. Next is Inner Light. This is really simple. Mage's Guild skill line, first ability you unlock, starts off as Mage Light, morph it to Inner Light. You need Mage's Guild 2 for this. 5% Magicka for being on the bar, and Major Prophecy at all times for being on the bar. Don't activate it, we don't need it for its actual ability, we just need it for the passive for being there. So this stays on the bar and also on the back bar. So we've got Prophecy on both bars. You can put Sorcery here with Degeneration if you choose to, meaning Major Prophecy and Major Sorcery is done. Tripods all day long, Survival is up, Stam is up, Mag is up, and we've got these buffs already. Also cheaper to make. Now, our main ultimate on the front bar and back bar if you choose, but doesn't have to be, is Shooting Star. This is in the Mage's Guild skill line. You need level 10 for this, for Mage's Guild. It's a big fireball that falls out of the sky, does area effect damage over time at the same time when it lands for a long duration, for 13 seconds in fact, and every single enemy hit will give you 12 ultimate back. So in some situations you can borderline spam it. It's very, very strong. I don't always use it as my main ultimate, but single target, it's very, very strong, especially if you double bar it for the passives in the Mage's Guild, which we'll come to later. Back bar, very simple. Inner Light is double barred. We already went over that. But if you want to, you can change this for a damage shield. However, there's another slot we can change that out for if we prefer, so you can still keep it if you really need to. Wall of Elements is on the back bar as well. This is on our Destruction Staff skill line. It's actually morphed into Unstable Wall of Elements because this one has a shorter duration but blows up with a big area of effect. Every enemy caught inside of this will take damage every 1 second. Now, we're using a Lightning Staff as a choice. If you're using a lightning staff and you concuss the enemy, which is a status effect from lightning, you will knock them off balance if they get damaged by this skill. So if they are already concussed by somebody else or you, this will happen. Off balance is very important because it allows you to heavy attack the target for more damage. You will actually do 70% more damage with your heavy attack, regardless of which type of heavy it is, and regardless whose it is. So if you have a tank or a healer in your group and they're trying to get Magicka back or stamina back and they heavy attack it, they will do more damage. Maybe that's make or break for them, who knows. Definitely is going to enhance yours. But at the same time, they get double resources back. Anyone that heavy attacks during off balance will get double resources back. It's incredible for people's sustain. Also, if you've got a DK in your group and they're using the backflip whip, that can only happen when the target is off balance. Congratulations, now they can do it. There's lots of different situations where this can be very, very useful, mostly for sustain, but also if you've got easy sorks in your group and they are utilizing heavy attacks, sure, they can proc off balance themselves, but there's options for them not to do that, and that's why this build is designed for you to do it instead, or at the same time, so you're helping everyone. Now, if you choose to have a flame staff, the area of effect damage over time from the skill is the same, but if they are burning, if they do get affected with burning, they will take more damage from the skill. Also, if you have a DK in your group buffing the target in terms of making them more susceptible to flame damage, then it will do more damage as well. You can go with a flame staff if you prefer, but just bear in mind, you will not be able to make off balance happen unless this wall is lightning. The build is designed to push that as much as possible. I will go over that when we get to the gear and the passives as well to explain how we're going to be able to actively do that. There is also a skill swap to still control it even if you do go fire, but learn what this skill does depending on the actual element type you choose. This must be on the ground at all times. Next is Solar Barrage. This is very simple. This is in the Dawn's Wrath skill line. Second ability to unlock starts off as Solar Flare, morph it to Solar Barrage. Activate it, it will do damage over time in area of effect. For 10 seconds, every 2 seconds it will hit targets. And while it's active, it's very cheap as well, all of your light and heavy attacks are enhanced by 40%. If you already have Empower in your group, either by Gallonway from a tank or something, or you've got Empower from a Necromancer, then you can change this to Ritual of Retribution. Technically, the damage output is not that different. The cost is higher, though. You will be able to cleanse other people. They can take a synergy off you. You'll actually cleanse yourself as well by activating it. And also, you'll do damage over time in a larger area of effect, and it will get progressively stronger. But the damage outright on your own is no different, because this one has a lesser damage amount but enhances your lights and heavies. This one has a higher damage amount but doesn't boost your lights and heavies. So on your own, the skill's going to do the same. With a group, this is going to be higher. Channel Focus is next, same skill line as this actually. Rune Focus, morph to Channel Focus. Put it on the ground, gives you a resistance buff equal to any major resolve resistance buff in the game, so no, they do not stack. But while standing in this rune, yours is 50% stronger. Now the strongest resistance buff that exists. Also, you will gain 240 Magicka every 1 second, which means you basically cannot run out. It's ridiculous. Lasts for 20 seconds as well, very, very cheap, very, very nice for resource return and survival. However, if you don't want to slot this, you can of course rely on a Warden in your group to give you major resolve. It will be less than the one you can put out, but it will be the same that everybody else gets, and you can replace it with Harness Magicka. This will then cover your damage shield if you need it. Failing that, if you do want the resistance buff from yourself and a damage shield, you can drop Inner Light, but bear in mind you're going to lose your Magicka bonus and your Prophecy on this bar, so don't hang around here too long. Next up is from the Adrix Spear skill line. This is very important. This is why we don't technically need bubbles, because we have the synergy in our class. We do need this skill on our bar no matter what, because there's a passive that will benefit us. But you throw this in the air, lands on the target, hits them for direct magic damage and area of effect, and then does damage over time every 1 second. Yes, your members in the group can pick this up and get resources back. This is going to be on our rotation every 10 to 12 seconds, so there's always going to be that synergy. Do not let this run out if you can help it. Except during execute, we'll go over that later. Thunderous Rage is obviously our main ultimate on our back bar. I would highly encourage you to use this the majority of the time, because let's face it, almost every single fight has an ad somewhere and you want to hit multiple targets. Yes, obviously, Shooting Star does hit multiple targets, but this gets rid of them much, much quicker. This is very, very strong. If you're using a Lightning Staff, this will give you a 2-second extra duration on it, so it lasts for 9 seconds, not 7. If you have a Flame Staff, it will actually have a 15% damage increase. So each tick is stronger, but the duration is less. So it's make or break as to which one you want to choose, depending on how you set yourself up for your group. If you don't have Off Balance already covered in your group and you are the one supplying it, then if you have the Lightning one, you can contribute to more concussion, which can stack along this and all the rest of the Lightning that we're doing in the build. You will see more about that again later. Failing that, if you want to, you can just double bar Shooting Star and have done with it. It's your choice. If you don't have Major Skill 10, by the way, do not panic. You can replace this with Nova for the time being, morph to Solar Prison, which is in your Dawn's Wrath skill line. Or maybe you just want to use that anyway, because it's a very good protective buff and it's got a massive damage synergy attached to it as well. Now, passives. These are very important. Do not leave home without them. Passives are more important than your skills sometimes. This will increase the crit damage you do while you have an Adric Spear ability slotted. Front bar, jabs. Back bar, spear. If it's not there, you don't get the bonus. Pay attention to that. Also, increases the amount of damage you can block. This will give you minor protection every time you cast an Adric Spear ability, protecting you for 5% damage. Every time you cast this, it will refresh itself. Every time you cast this, it will refresh itself. That's with us 100% of the time, excluding execute. When you deal damage with an Adric Spear ability 4 times in rapid succession, you will do an instant hit, damage-wise, single target, and that will be magic or physical, depending on which one of your stats is higher. For us, it's Magicka, but they're very close. Also, this used to fire every 0.5 seconds, so you could use this and it could fire twice per channel, and you could use this and it could fire every second. Now, that's not the case. It's every 4 hits, so this has been nuked to the ground somewhat, but it's still very, very strong. Make sure you get this passive. All you got to do is keep this up, and it'll happen like every 4 hits from a jab, or every 4 ticks from the spear. This increases your weapon damage. That will be beneficial to us. We are using dual wield on one of our setups, which will help increase our light attack and heavy attack damage if we need to, and it will also enhance the beast trap. At the same time, we've got spell resistance, so we're not so squishy. This is also very important. This increases duration of Sunfire, Eclipse, and Solar Flare and Nova abilities by 2 seconds. Definitely get that as soon as possible. This will generate ulti when you use Dawn's Wrath abilities. Remember when I said that you can swap this for degeneration, but you'll lose your passives? When you activate this, or this, or this, you will get 3 ulti back, as long as it was 6 seconds or longer from the last one of these casts. So on execute, we've got it all the time anyway. During our rotation, we've got it on the back bar and the front, but if you have degeneration, obviously this won't fire that ever again. But you do want that passive, it's very nice. Using a Dawn's Wrath ability will grant your whole group minor sorcery for 20 seconds, increasing their spell damage by 10%. Well, that was easy. So all we have to do is basically keep up this, or keep up this. Even if you don't have this on the bar, you're fine. Reduces the health, magicka, stamina, and ultimate cost of all abilities. Great, get it. These, you might not want them all. This will increase the healing effects from your Restore and Light abilities by up to 12% in proportion to the severity of the target's wounds. So if anyone is taking a synergy from this, if you are using it, then of course they will get a larger heal. While standing in your cleansing ritual, which is this, or your rune focus, you will end up having the minor mending buff, but if you leave it, it will stay with you for 4 seconds. So if you go out of the circle, it will persist. After 4 seconds, it's gone. But if you go back in within that amount of time, it'll just come back again. Also increase the amount of damage you can block. So this is actually a very good bonus. Passively, you just stand in it and it gives you block mitigation, resistances, and recovery. It's stupid. And minor mending. When you hit an ally under 50% with a Restore and Light ability, you grant them 2 ultimates. So if you do have this and someone does take the synergy, they'll get ultimate off of it, which is quite handy. And this one increases your resurrection speed. So you are the fastest person at resin in the game, apart from a Necromancer ultimate. For free, though, you're the quickest one. And there's a passive for that now in a champion points if you wanted it. These aren't 100% essential. You don't have to have them, but I would recommend highly getting the Major Mending one, or Minor Mending one even, just in case you're using this. The rest are your choice, but you do want the res passive. So above all, this one and this one. The rest is if you've got enough points. We are using dual wield. We're not using any skills. These are still important, but one of them you can skip. If you want to use a lightning staff on the front bar like we have been for the last 3 years, absolutely fine. There are benefits to that. If you want to use the dual wield, you will get more crit chance out of it, meaning your crits are more likely to happen, especially during execute, so you will benefit from that. Daggers do not increase our damage, they increase crit chance. If you are using a lightning staff and the dice do roll in your favor, equal to that of daggers with higher crits, because it's chance it could happen, you will get more damage with a lightning staff. Consistency wise though, it varies. This will increase the damage you do with dual wield abilities against low health enemies. That includes your light and heavy attacks. That will be beneficial. This increases the weapon damage of your offhand weapon. Again, that will be beneficial. This reduces the stamina cost of your abilities in this skill line. Don't buy it. You don't need it. We're not using any. This will give you a damage bonus when attacking stunned, immobilized, or disorient, or silenced, or even off-balance enemies, as long as they're wobbling in any CC manner whatsoever. Your dual wield attacks will be stronger, so lights and heavies. We're not using any skills. And this is very important. We get 812 crit for each dagger. We are holding 2. So we have a lot. We have 1624 crit chance extra. If you are happy to sacrifice that crit chance, the lightning staff will do more damage in area of effect based situations or against area of effect skills. So we're going to go to that. We're going to skip ahead a little bit for that one. 8% increase to all area of effect skills. Daggers is just crit chance. If you were to crit with a lightning staff, you would hit harder. So, puncture and sweeps is area of effect. Wall of Elements is area of effect. Spears is area of effect. This is area of effect. Solar Barrage. Your Destro ulti is area of effect. So is your Shooting Star. If you do crit, and even if you don't, flat out, the lightning staff will improve all of those abilities. The daggers will not. Flat. But again, very clearly, the daggers do have a higher crit chance, so you are more likely to crit more often, getting the higher end of the scale. If you don't crit with a lightning staff, and you don't crit with a dagger, this will hit higher. If you do crit with a lightning staff, and you do crit with a dagger, this will hit higher. But your daggers will probably crit more often, meaning the higher side of the things will happen on a regular basis more than this would. Again, I can't stress this enough. That is a choice. You are not forced to go dual wield if you don't want to. Also, very importantly, this will increase the potential you get from a heavy attack, because the heavy attacks from a lightning staff are not just single target, but they're splash damage as well. So if you do heavy attack on the back bar, if you're on the lightning bar at the time, all enemies nearby will take the same damage. That will help in big trash packs. Or even on a single target fight where adds are sometimes introduced. Maybe individual mechanics warrant that. Or if you're lightning on the front bar, you got it all the time anyway. You get extra pen for Destro skills if you're holding a Destro staff at the time. And also, this is very important. Your status effects are what's important on this build. You must enhance your status effect chance in order to proc concussion, in order to proc off balance. If you are holding a destruction staff, all elemental status effects will have 100% extra chance to fire. However, if you're on the daggers, this passive does not apply. 99% of the time on this particular build, you can pretty much fire off balance before you even swap bars, so you should be safe. But on the front bar, again, your chance is lower. But with the daggers, I have managed to wiggle away to make that still very, very easy to do. There's going to be 2 choices. One is a skill, the other is a glyph. Glyphs have a 20% chance to encourage status effects. On the back bar, that turns out to 40. On the front bar, we're using it a lot. It's still going to happen. So, it's about control and about understanding your passives and how they work. This will also give you Magicka back if you kill something with a Destro staff ability, including lights and heavies. Light armor, we're using 7 pieces of light. You don't have to go heavy or medium if you don't want to, but if you do want to, bear in mind the passive differences. You are going to lose some of these, and you'll gain some of those. These you can read through in your own time, because we don't have to go through those every single video, but there are pluses and minuses to the armor type, but what you really want to pay attention to above all are these. This will give you effectiveness against snares, so you won't be so slow, and you reduce the cost of sprinting. We're wearing very floaty light armor. We should be quite fast. This increases your mag recovery and reduction to cost. This will increase your resistances for magical type resists. Couldn't get my words out there. And this will increase your crit chance. We've actually got almost the same crit chance here as we do with daggers. Daggers is 1624. This is 1538. There's barely anything in it, but they stack. And this increases your pen. We have 6.5k pen for spell-based stuff. That's insane. We don't go over these because we don't need them, but you can if you choose to. We are, of course, taking advantage of Undaunted. You will want to take every single synergy you can find. You'll get resources back. Not just from a spear, from everything. No matter what a synergy does, it gives you this back. Get that passive. Use it. Don't be lazy. This will increase your stats by 2% for each type of armor worn. We're wearing one type. We're wearing just light. If you do want to wear one heavy, one medium, or just introduce 2 heavies or whatever you want to put on there, then of course that is up to you, but that's going to be in your monster set. You're going to have to control it that way because the 2 armor pieces or armor sets we're using are light. If you do that, you will get enhanced stats, but you're going to lose some of your light stuff to gain some of the others. It might work out for you, it might not. Overall, we're going 7 light to keep it simple. We are, of course, taking advantage of Mage's Guild passives. You don't really need this for the Empower because we've got that covered with our Solar Barrage anyway, so you can ignore that one completely, but you will want this. This will enhance the amount of Magicka you have on your bar, depending on how many of these skills are slotted. We have 2 on this bar, we have 1 on this bar, unless, of course, you double bar Meteor, which you can. And on the front bar, again, you could have 3 here because you can slot Degeneration if you choose to. Either way, each one will give you 2% extra Magicka and recovery, so it's a flat bonus. Fighters Guild, you also do need Intimidating Presence to reduce the cost of Beast Trap because we are using it, and you're going to want this. This will increase your weapon damage for each skill slotted on this bar. We are using Dual Wield. If you choose to, you will need this because it will enhance your lights and heavies, and it will also enhance the strength of the skill. It is a damage over time, remember. But if you're using a Lightning Staff, you don't have to use this because weapon damage is going to be useless for us. It will give this a little bit of a boost, but it's not going to benefit our lights or anything like that, so it's not the end of the world. You will want this. This was changed dramatically. It used to give you 9 ultimate per kill. Now it does not. But it used to be any bar you're on, no Fighters Guild ability slotted whatsoever. Now you must have a Fighters Guild ability slotted to get 3 ultimate. Less, yes. Situational, also yes. Stay on your front bar as much as possible, especially if something's dying. But for us, since most things are going to die to a Jesus Beam, we're going to be on this bar anyway. This will help get your ultimate back up. We are, of course, a Dark Elf. Now, disclaimer. Khajiit was very, very good. Yes, it did lots of nice crit damage if you crit. If you failed to crit, you had no flat whatsoever. And the recovery was quite nice, and the flat stats were quite nice. High Elf and Dark Elf are extremely close because the Dark Elf has maximum stamina and Magicka, 1910. The High Elf has 2k Magicka. So stat-wise, they're very, very close to the same Magicka. Barely anything in it at all. You won't notice. But the Dark Elf does have stamina, which will enhance the strength of our light and heavies with our melee weapons and our Beast Trap, if you choose to go dual wield. Also, we have flame resistance, which is quite nice, but we have increased weapon and spell damage, exactly the same as the High Elf. Flat out, using dual wield, the Dark Elf did do about 1k more damage, most of the time. 95% of the time they were exactly the same, there was nothing in it. But the choice is yours. Bear in mind, of course, the High Elf, if you're channeling abilities, the High Elf does get protection for that. We are channeling abilities. So there's your trade-off. This one has flame resistance, the other has channeling resistance. This one has the same weapon and spell damage, but it does have the extra stamina. The choice is yours. One more thing before we go on to the final passive. If you chose to, you can be an all-out friggin' brawler. Now, there was only 3k DPS difference at most. And we're talking the higher end of the DPS. Not someone that's doing 10k and losing 3k, because 10 down to 7 is a lot. Not someone doing 20 down to 17. I mean someone doing 85 and making it come down to 82. Or 83 coming down to 80. That end of the scale, 3k is nothing. That's a light attack. The Orc has the stamina bonus higher than the Dark Elf. Only a little bit, but it does. Allowing it to hit quite hard with melee weapons. It also has the same weapon and spell damage as the High Elf, the Dark Elf. They're all the same. But you've got an extra 1k health, and you do heal once every 4 seconds, and you run faster, and your sprint is cheaper. So the Orc, surprisingly, was a very, very suitable brawler Magicka Templar, and it worked really fucking well. So if you want to use any race of your choice, that is entirely up to you, but the Orc was very good. I was quite surprised. Anyway, medicinal use. 30% longer potions. Get this as soon as possible. Most important passive in the game. Your potions last 37 seconds, especially if you're using tripods. Now they last 47. Your cooldown is 45. Don't let them run out. They're consumable buffs. You're welcome. Now we're going to get into the gear. Now again, without being too complicated, this build has been around for a very long time. And it has had multiple changes along the way to keep its intended design. Yes, the build is designed. They're not just set slapped together for the sake of it. And it has adapted and changed over time to still maintain that, but to keep up. This particular update, we have 4 years worth of adaptation and nostalgia all at the same time. We can have both. So, we are using 2 overwhelming daggers on the front bar with a shock glyph, allowing us to proc more off balance with our wall of elements from our lightning staff, at the same time as having a flame glyph as well for a little bit of extra damage. Crit on both, precise. So they give you 1624 crit for being there, plus you get 7% almost for actually having them in precise as well. So we've got a lot of crit on the front bar. The back bar is a Maelstrom Lightning Staff Imperfected. Ignore the glyph, I'm going to explain that. On here, we have 2 damage glyphs. So on here, you want a weapon and spell damage glyph all the time. However, if you don't like the daggers, we are melee based by the way, we are very, very close. If you don't like the daggers and you want to stick with the lightning staff on the front bar, that's 100% okay, still 100% viable if you want to call it that word. It will still get very, very similar results unless crit is on your side, in which case you'll sometimes get more. But this is when you want to change your glyphs. If you go lightning, the front bar needs to be weapon and spell damage, and the back bar needs to be a lightning glyph. That will control off balance to a stupid extent. If you choose to go flame, then of course you can change this to a flame glyph instead, but you can no longer control off balance. You have to make sure you've got enough off balance in your group first before you make that choice. The reason the dummy is different is because it already has engulfing flames on it, meaning it's got a DK buff and off balance is already covered as well. So for demonstration purposes, that's why people don't put lightning on there. But in general, your choice. Lightning on the back with a lightning glyph, flame on the back with a flame glyph, unless you're using dual wield, in which case this needs to be weapon and spell damage. That will be on the website as well, if that's confusing. Now, regardless of what type of weapon you've chosen, the set is still important. Overwhelming on the front. Normal Maelstrom weapon is fine, because the pen bonus isn't going to help us at all, because we're already capping out easily. And overwhelming on the jewelry or body. It's light, so it doesn't matter. You can put them anywhere. 2 Bloodthirsty, 1 Infused. Infused to give us that up front, Bloodthirsty to give us that execute power. Yes, of course, I tried 3 Bloodthirsty before anybody asks. No, it wasn't better. Jesus Beam hit a little bit harder, but you were stagnating with a lower amount of damage at the start, so then by the time you got to execute, you were under par. This actually worked out really, really nice to balance things out. The other set on the body is Hollow Fang. Now, read this very carefully before you scream into my ear about how this works. Crit, chance, great, we need that. Magicka, we need that. Crit chance again. Whenever you critically heal, which we can, or critically damage a target. With 71% crit, we're going to crit. Either way. All we have to do is heal or damage. We're doing both with our abilities. When that happens, a big ball will pop out of the ground. 2 seconds later, it will pop, and everyone caught inside of it will get minor vitality, increasing their healing received. Don't forget, we have minor mending, which is healing done, so our jabs now heal us for a lot. And everyone who gets caught by this will receive 2,500 Magicka back. One more thing to note. Minor Vitality is a buff type. It does not stack with another kind. They're the same. But Hollow Fang, the pop for return for Magicka, does stack. So that means if you have multiples in your group, it's not a problem. Everyone just got more sustain, and everyone can run more flat food, and everyone can live longer because they've got more health. This is a plus in every manner of the word. It helps us for our DPS because we've got crit and Magicka on it. It helps everyone in the group and yourself for sustain and survival. And they stack. Just bear in mind, of course, Overwhelming I didn't go over. Spell damage, Magicka. This one, crit, Magicka. So we've got crit on this set, flat on that set. Nice balance. And when you deal damage with a class ability, which we do all the time, you have a 6-second area of effect damage over time that will attach itself to individual targets. Now, that will do 6 maximum, but every single tick will actually give you back the damage in Magicka. And it's got a 7-second cooldown. So there's 1 second gap between every single cast of this, and it's guaranteed. Very, very strong indeed. You will never run out of Magicka with these 2 sets. Now, there are options for this. You can change your sets to get more single target damage if you prefer. but it will still do very nice area of effect. The one thing that's going to be affected is your sustain. You are going to have to actually manually sustain more, or you might have to go squish your food. Now, if you do that, you can change Overwhelming for Sororia, which will give you, again, more flat bonuses. Magicka, spell damage, and minor slayer. This can be on normal, by the way. You don't have to go on vet. You just lose 1k mag from it. So they're very, very similar flat stats overall by comparison. But you will get 520 Magicka out of it if you can stay in the stacks. That will make more sense once you start using it, but basically you've got to do direct damage. If you can maintain that, then you will actually get more single target, but you're going to sacrifice your lightning procs from this, meaning less chance to get concussion. Also, if you change Hollow Fang, then you won't get the recovery from this. The two combined in any order is absolutely fine. Overwhelming and Sororia, or Overwhelming and Hollow Fang. Just bear in mind, if you don't use Hollow Fang, you will lose crit chance. Another good option, of course, is Skaven Mage. You can go Sororia and Skaven Mage. You cover all angles of crit and flat, plus you've got an extra 512 spell damage, but you are going to suffer with your resources. Monster set, Zan all the way. Crit bonus, plus loads of fire damage if you're close. We are built to be close, but if you want to change it out, you can, of course, go with Jeff. Jeff is absolutely amazing. Why not? He's a flaming Daedroth from hell. Love it. The choices are yours. They will be on the website, but to keep things simple, if you want to go the basic setup, Overwhelming and Hollow Fang all day long. Damage-wise, overall, if you're going for the more higher single target setup, you can get somewhere between 85 plus and pushing to 90 if you get really, really lucky crits, but that's rare. However, on average, for the lower end of the set, you're looking at about 77, 78. So you go slightly below 80, but your area of effect is insane, and so is your resource recovery for you and the group. Not to mention you're supplying off balance, meaning that anyone that does need to heavy attack, especially your tanks and healers, can get double resources back. You can if you need to, and the DKs in your group can do backflips because you're supplying that buff for them to change their skill into that. Also, just bear in mind, of course, like I said earlier, if you do want to change a skill on the front bar to supply more off balance, you can, of course, swap to Toppling Charge. This will supply off balance to the target as soon as you hit them. So, although status effects stacking up is very, very nice, but just in case you don't have them, you can still control it. Now, we're going to go into the champion points. The really, really simple stuff and a massive change to the game. These are very straightforward, although they look confusing. There are 3 sections at the top, green, blue, and red. Craft, Warfare, and Fitness. We can slot 4 special slottables from each tree, and that's it. So which ones apply to you? And that's the only thing you need to worry about. All of these ones that are lit up in white or yellow or whatever you want to call them, these ones are passives. You will get them and unlock them all eventually. So you unlock these at your own leisure, in your own time, as you passively level. You'll get flat stats, the equivalent to that of maybe a 5-piece set in here as far as damage application is concerned, which is barely anything, and you'll get some resistances as well. But these are not the important things. What's important is your slottables and how to get there. So, you want 10 points into here to unlock this tree. And get Backstabber. If you're behind the target, you want this, because your crit damage is higher. If you're not behind the target, you want this instead. But most situations, you should be behind them anyway. Then you want these 3. Deadly Aim to cover your single target, you know, your light attacks, your Jesus Beam, your Beast Trap, anything that's single, your glyphs as well, they're all affected. Thaumaturge will cover damage over time. We've got lots and lots of damage over time going on, and this will cover your area of effect. We are built for area of effect. We're not built to be a single target dummy smasher with Eurotrash music in the background shouting how good we are. This is designed for content to have good single target, but very high AoE. This combined, these 4, you can get there nice and quick. 10 points in here to unlock this. 10 points in penetration here to unlock all this. And that's it. On the website, I'll obviously tell you exactly where to go at lower levels to try and unlock this nice and quickly. And then the rest of it is just finish them off. Red Tree, same applies. These are all passive. You will eventually get them all. But which route do you take to get what you need? Well, first of all, these 3 here don't require any unlocks. They are already there. So you want the health, you want the armor, and you want the recovery. Then finally, we've already got infinite sustain anyway. With 1 setup, this is going to make it absolutely mental. But if you're using the higher damage setup, then you don't have the recovery, but the kills you get will give it back. So this is what you want as well. This is very simple. 15 here, 10 here, 10 here. 35 points into this tree, you open up this. These are already there. So slot those 4. And the green tree is not really important for combat, but there are some very useful inside content. You want to get a little path here and go up to the armpit buff. You will never use a soul gem again for your glyphs because you never have to recharge them again. Unlock this for higher quality loot in treasure chests. This makes your food last longer, which is cheaper for everybody. This might make you not even use a potion, even though you still get the benefit. And this makes you run faster while out of combat. So while running from one fight to another, happy speed runs. That's it. Now rotation. I know. You could sit there, hitting one skill, hitting another, bar swap skill, bar swap skill, bar swap skill, fill every single one of these with a damage ability, and get some nice, up to 100k damage out of it. That's not how this is designed, and it's not going to teach you in content, because try doing that against an actual moving target. This is designed to keep things very, very simple, never really change, and you can apply it anywhere, so you can actually focus on the mechanics while performing very, very well. So, Beast Trap needs to be down as soon as you start, and then swap bars. Before that, if you've got it slotted, make sure your resistance buff is on. When you're on the back bar at the beginning, because you will Beast Trap swap to start with, these are what you need to be considering. 3 skills in this order. Spear, light attack solar barrage, light attack wall, swap bars. Make sure that swap is nice and quick, by the way, like this. Then, light attack, purifying light. Make sure you're in the enemy's face, otherwise the light attack's going to miss. Or degeneration, whichever skill you've chosen. If you're using a light attack with a light and stuff, yes, of course, that's going to reach, but make sure you're in nice and quick, because you want that Beast Trap to actually land on them, otherwise it's not going to work. Once this is active, you light attack the target, and then cast Puncture and Sweeps. Light attack it, sweeps again. There's a theme here. Light attack, sweeps again. You guessed it. Light attack, sweep again. 4 times. And to finish it, light, trap, swap bars. Again, make sure the trap is nice, quick swap. Like that. That's it. Don't change it. Ever. Keep it exactly the same as that. There's no, oh, in this situation, oh, if this has got 3 seconds left, quickly bar swap and apply this, and quickly bar swap back, and then hit this and swap and swap and swap and swap and swap, and then cue the fucking Eurotrash music. No. Trap. 3 skills. Swap bar. Light. 4 jabs. Trap swap. Repeat. The only time you change anything is when the targets are low health. Remember I said trash pulls about 40 to 35%, bosses about 30 to 25%. During that time, you drop everything apart from 2 skills. Well, technically 3. You obviously keep your trap up, and you keep your wall up. 4 Jesus beams. In a row. As you can see, off balance is really easy there. Then, light beast trap swap, light wall swap, back to the beams. If you're using glory, you will obviously heal for the damage done. Your wall is down so you can control off balance. Your glyph, as you saw then, was pushing off balance, and our overwhelming is making every single target go off balance on cooldown. You actually have a lot of control of it based on the way the build is designed, regardless of not having that extra status passive on your front bar. That glyph actually contributes to a lot. That's it. The only thing you need to note apart from that is that when you drop an ultimate, that you do it on your back bar if you can help it, unless it's the front bar one you're firing. If it's a front bar one, do it as soon as you can during your rotation. If it's your back bar one, do it before you cast Wall of Elements and swap bars. If you fire an ulti and then swap to the back, you're going to get a negative because you might not crit it. Very simple. Use it in all content. When it comes to big trash pulls, I mean, for most part, you just do this. They're all going to be dead soon anyway. Keep your trap up. The rotation doesn't really change. Just make sure that you're close enough. And as you can see, there is off balance going off. Left, right, and center. Everything is getting affected. Nice and easy. Just remember, of course, if you do choose to have a flame staff on the back, you can't control off balance, right? That's when you swap this. If you still want to be the one to do it. Watch. Done. So you can have it passively, or you can have it actively, but bear in mind that skill swap is a negative to your overall DPS and your healing around the target. The choice is yours. Now it's time for fashion. So this is actually the same as last time, but if you didn't catch it, we're using the Sacy hat, we're using the Assassin's League heavy chest, Scale Caller light shoulders, Dragon Guard light gloves. Medium Dramathra belt. Love that belt. That little blue light is really, really cool. Heavy Thieves Guild legs. The cargo pants. Silken Ring light shoes. And we are using 2 Ebon Shadow daggers, because Ebon Shadow is the best weapon motif in the game. And you all agree with me, don't you? Because if we were using a lightning staff on the front bar, then you should change it to Ebon Shadow lightning or Ebon Shadow staff as well. And of course the back bar is Abnathan, just to break things up a little bit, because it looks cool as hell, especially in the color that we've chosen, which is, the red, by the way, is Frozen Blood, I think it's called. Frozen Blood Red. Yes, it is. Lucky, I remember that one. And of course the black that we're using is actually Legate Black. Let me find it. Down here, you don't have to have this if you don't want to. You can use any. You can use Void Pitch, but watch the purple tint to it. And Falmore Black or Obsidian Black is absolutely fine. And that's about it. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully that wasn't too boring. Hopefully you now have a better understanding of how to approach the particular build. Or hopefully you've had your faith restored, wondering whether this was actually dead or not. It's got nostalgia and history adaptation built in, all in one build. How cool is that? If you're not subscribing on YouTube, please, of course, do hit that button. It is free. And there is a join button beside subscribe now. It's been there for a while, but I haven't really done a lot with it. Now, there are perks. If you have the lowest perk, you will have emotes to use in the comments section. If you have the next one up, you can, of course, speak in the live streams like everybody can, but if it's a members-only one, you get a voice. And the final one, the big one, I'm actually uploading behind-the-scenes footage now. So maybe DPS tests, maybe some pluses, maybe some minuses, maybe some good stuff, maybe some fails. Lots and lots of testing in the background that goes on, you now get to see. Nobody else gets to see that. Not even Patreon Secret Ninjas as a video. Sure, they get to see some stuff, but this particular stuff cannot be uploaded in a Discord because the files are too big. So now you get to have all that extra stuff. Anyway, if you want to help support other than that, outside the channel, there are some links in the info section for Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, and of course the website, XynodeGaming.com, where the written guide is as well. Once again, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.